Talk about this war of attrition, and you were there in the 80s with President Reagan. Russia invaded Afghanistan. They stayed for 11 years. Could we be looking at a similar situation here in Ukraine as we now enter year number 3 of the war?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to support Ukraine for the next 11 years, but Russia can fight for the next 11 years. You know, here's the thing. Russia is drawing its war-fighting population from the rural areas, from its minorities, from the hinterlands. And for them, the salary they get being in the Russian military is a good salary. The benefits are terrific. So yeah, it's a meat grinder for both sides. But Russia can keep fighting because it has the money and resources. And until you bankrupt Russia with lower energy prices, which the United States could do in a minute, then Russia's going to keep fighting.
Yeah, and they've got a lot more meat. You think about the population of Russia; it's 150 million people.
Right.
So they can continue to cycle bodies through the battle, the front in the eastern part of Ukraine. KT, we had the death of Alexei Navalny a week ago, Putin's most prominent opposition inside Russia. In response, President Biden announced these new sanctions, which they've done now several times. The New York Times reporting that the sanctions will target Russia's financial sector, military-industrial complex in a broad effort to degrade the Kremlin's war machine. I don't know what that does, but I certainly don't know if it does anything to deter Vladimir Putin. How do you feel about this latest round of sanctions?
Look, Putin assassinated Navalny because he has elections in 3 weeks. He's going to win those elections, but he wanted to make sure that he kind of cleared the field so there was no opportunity for opposition. And as far as Biden's sanctions, look, Russia's been sanctioned forever. And this is a sanction against Russian companies, Russian individuals. They're not going to come travel to the United States anyway, so they're kind of meaningless sanctions. The one thing that will get Putin's attention is if oil prices drop. And Biden could do that. He won't do it because he likes high oil prices for all of his environmental reasons and environmental, fraud reasons, I might point out. But as long as oil prices are high, you can sanction Russia all you want. But Russia's got the cash to pay for an ongoing war of attrition that could go on for years. This is going to be like World War I, where generations of people are lost. And right now, Ukraine, probably a third of the country of Ukraine, the population of Ukraine has been displaced. They've either fled the country, they've fled different parts of Ukraine. So Ukraine is really feeling it. Russia, not so much.
So if Congress doesn't move forward with this $60 billion aid package or some kind of funding bill to support Ukraine, what message does that send to dictators, say, in North Korea or China and around the world?
Look, I think the best solution to all of this is the Donald Trump plan, where he says, I'm going to end the war in Ukraine in a day. Probably take a little more than a day, probably a week maybe. But what he said is, I'll go to Putin and I'll say, Putin, unless you go to the negotiating table, I'm going to give Ukraine offensive weapons. And then he's going to go to Zelensky and say, Zelensky, unless you go to the negotiating table, I'm going to cut your weapons supply. Force them to the table because Ukraine can win the peace. They win the peace because within days of the fighting stopping, Western countries and companies are going to put $1 trillion into rebuilding Ukraine. It's a wealthy country, well-educated population, lots of natural resources, human resources, energy resources. Meanwhile, Russia, 5 years after the fighting stops, it's a bankrupt pariah state. That's the end to go to. Push them to the negotiating table. So far, the Biden administration agrees with Zelensky. No negotiation. We're not even going to go to a negotiating table unless Russia gives back all the land. Well, that's impossible.
Great point. KT, about 30 seconds. You were Deputy National Security Advisor under former President Donald Trump. Have you had any conversations with him about the specifics of his plan, basically what you just told me? Because he hasn't been specific other than saying he would end the war in 24 hours.
Well, he actually has been. He has talked about, to me and to others, and he's also talked publicly about going to Zelensky and going to Putin and giving them this argument. He's also said publicly, drill, baby, drill. First day of in my second term, I'm going to drill, baby, drill, drive down the price of oil. And as for seeing President Trump, yes, I spent some time with him 2 days ago when I saw him at CPAC.
Would you be a part of another Trump administration if you were asked?
Well, I haven't been asked yet, and there is no second Trump administration yet.
But you could be, KT.
On the ready alert.
There could be, and you could be. I guess we'll have to wait and see. KT McFarland, great to see you on.